everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. I don't know where that raspy hello came from. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but there wasn't a Kilowatt episode this weekend. I can just tell you I've been very busy, and if one more thing breaks, whether that's a computer thing or something around my house, if one more thing breaks, I might lose my mind. Just so you know. Like, my kids were out. They're like, Dad, can we wash your car? That'd be a really nice thing for us to do for you. And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome. Wash my car. So I pulled my car out. My kids turned on the water and they're like, Dad, the water's leaking, which is a problem we've been having with some of the things around our house. And I walk out there and the hose had split and burst and I got to replace the hose. But anyway, long story short, I can't possibly take any more home repair projects. Like, I'm done with them, from small to huge. And computer problems also, because I had computer problems today just recording this. I didn't want to recognize my universal audio arrow, so I'm done with problems. I'm not a problem solver anymore. From now on, or at least until I've had a moment to calm down, I will be a problem smasher. If something breaks, I'm just going to break it more and then buy a new one. That's my plan. That includes my house. All right, you can probably hear my frustration, so let's move on. All right, first story here. Nikola has delivered two, or at least we think it's two, Nikola Tre hydrogen electric semi-trucks to the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. So they each got one truck, and this is for the purpose of testing. So if you're not familiar with Nikola, their vehicles, of course, run on hydrogen, and their founder, Trevor Milton, was in a lot of trouble for defrauding investors, which, in an odd coincidence here, Nikola will have to pay $125 million to the SEC in the form of a fine for defrauding investors. And that's all I have to say about that. I mentioned recently that Tesla was allowing passengers, and I say passengers with quotes, to play video games on the center console of the Model 3 or the Model Y while the car was moving. I said it then, this was an awful idea. Well, it turns out Mercedes is recalling a few electric EQSs and S-Class models because there's a software glitch that allows drivers or whoever else is in the car to watch TV while the vehicle's in motion. So again, it's a terrible idea. I don't know why we're letting people do this. In Mercedes' case, though, although the headline didn't make it sound that way, in Mercedes' case, it sounds like this was unintentional and there was just a software error and they're fixing it. Rivian has completely and totally disregarded my pleas to have them build their new factory here in Arizona. Instead, it turns out they're going to be building their new $5 billion EV plant on 2,000 acres just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And that's fine, I guess. Georgia's a pretty cool state. I guess I approve. I really like Georgia. I've been there a couple of times. It's a really beautiful state. I just wish that it would have, been here in Arizona. It makes more sense to me, having, being an Arizonan. Anyway, production begins in 2024, and Rivian's also adding 620,000 square feet to their Normal, Illinois factory. So expansion for Rivian. Kind of as a side note here, they're also claiming that they're going to start delivering the R1S, which is their electric SUV, sometime this month. So time's running out, so we'll see if that actually happens. Ford is doubling their target of the F-150 Lightning. Their new target is 600,000 vehicles within 24 months of production. Now, actually, I don't know if I wrote this down right or not. I wrote down 600,000 a year, 600,000 vehicles a year. But that might just be 600,000 within that, 24 months of production. In either case, that is a lot. We talked about the EV company Lightyear a few months ago, or maybe it was a few years ago. At this point in time in my life, everything just kind of goes so fast, it just slips by. And I'm getting to the age where I can't remember if I talked to somebody yesterday or 4 years ago about something. So there you go. That's what you have to look forward to if you're under the age of 47. Anyway, to jog all of your memories and mine, at that time, whenever it was, Lightyear announced that they were going to be producing a solar-powered car that would cost $170,000. And I'm not going to lie, I thought that was stupid money and a ridiculous price for the vehicle. Like, I think a solar-powered car with, backup batteries is a cool idea, but $170,000 is super, super expensive and maybe a dumb idea. But anyway, they're back in the news with their new and much more affordable solar car. We don't have a lot of details except that it's going to be called the Lightyear 2, and it will cost somewhere around $34,000 US. There is some buzz about a lease program or like a car subscription program, but we didn't get a lot of details on that either. Let's talk about the Hyundai Ioniq 5, one of my favorite electric cars. We now know that, at least in the United States, the starting price will be $40,925. That's before incentives. There's going to be 7 models. The SE standard range, which will be that base price of $40,925, that'll have a range of 220 miles. And then it breaks down into 6 other packages. There's the SE all-wheel drive and rear. There you go, Allison. Rear wheel drive. The SEL all-wheel drive and rear wheel drive, and the Limited all-wheel drive and rear wheel drive. So all of the rear wheel drive packages have a range of 303 miles. All of the all-wheel drive packages have the 256 miles range. The Limited all-wheel drive will cost, which is the highest tier, will cost $55,725 before incentives, and all of the other packages will be, in between 41,000 and 56,000 roughly. Not bad price wise. I think that the Ioniq 5 and all of the trims, which is, 7, I guess, they're all going to be fantastic. I think people are really going to eat this car up when it finally comes out. Now, the more affordable standard range Ioniq 5, marketing's dumb. Marketing terms are dumb, but the standard range of 220 miles, that will be out the spring of 2022. But the full range versions, and that's what they're calling full range, is the other 6, models. They're going to be arriving later this month or early 2022, depending on whose article you read. I have read that some people are already receiving their vehicles. Now, if you're new listening to the show and you have no idea what the Ioniq 5 is, it's Hyundai's new electric vehicle. It's built off their new EV platform, which is escaping me at the moment, but it's not the AMP platform, I don't think. Anyway, here are the features that are going to be in the Ioniq 5, which I think is really cool. They've got these cool little square pixel lights that makes the car look super futuristic. I really love that look of the car. Like, the tail lights look fantastic. The front headlights look fantastic. It's a little thing, but I think it sets it apart from other vehicles on the road. Next is it's got these really cool front seats that recline and give you foot support while you're reclined. So when you're charging, you can kind of rest and charge yourself up, which is really nice. The Hyundai claims that you can charge from 10 to 80% in 8 to 10 minutes with a DC fast charger. So that's pretty good. It's a little bit bigger than the ID4 and the Ford Mach-E. It will have over-the-air updates, and why shouldn't it? It's 2022 after all. It's going to have a HUD, a heads-up display, which the Kona has this, and Howard mentioned that in the episode that I had with Howard and James when they talked about their Hyundai Konas. When that in the HUD shows like the speed, some navigation stuff, and then if there's a car hanging out on like your right blind spot, it'll show a little red indicator on the right side of the HUD, indicating that there's a car there and you shouldn't pull into that lane. And finally, through the Hyundai Blue Link app, which, if you talk to Howard and James, you get mixed reviews. They have positive things and negative things to say about this app. But anyway, through the Blue Link app, you can actually give somebody else permission through their phone and the Blue Link app to drive your car. So if you're at work and a friend needs to borrow your car for some reason, you can say, okay, cool, log into the Blue Link app. I will send you permission. And then they can just use their phone to open up the car and drive it away. So that's really cool. You can also take permission away if you so choose. Chinese EV company NIO held NIO Day on December 18th, which was this Saturday. And they announced the NIO ET5, which some say that's the vehicle that's going to compete with the Model 3. According to NIO, the range will start at 550 plus kilometers or 342 miles and go up to a whopping 1,000 kilometers, which is 620 miles. And that, 1,000-kilometer vehicle comes with a 150 kilowatt hour battery, which is insane. The ET5 will start at $51,450 before subsidies. But if you choose to get the battery as a service subscription, which is a monthly subscription, the vehicle will then start at $40,468 because there's a monthly subscription fee, which in most cases I think is ridiculous. But because NIO has this really cool feature where you can drive into this like little garage thing. It's like a little pod, and it'll remove your old battery and put in a fresh battery, and you're done in minutes. So you don't have to actually sit and charge your vehicle if you use one of these pods. So it makes sense to me that maybe the battery subscription might actually be the way to go if the monthly fee is not too terribly expensive. Deliveries will begin in China in September of 2022. NIO also has plans to expand from China and Norway, which is the two countries they're currently operating in, to Germany, Sweden, Netherlands, and Denmark. And at some point, I'm sure they'll make their way here to the United States, he said longingly. You know what? I should have mentioned this during the Rivian segment, and I completely spaced it. But Rivian recently had their earnings call. And a few weeks ago when I asked, is anybody interested in hearing like Lucid's earnings calls or Rivian's? A lot of you reached out and you're like, I want to hear Lucid and Rivian's earnings call. So this Friday's episode of Kilowatt is going to be 100% dedicated to Rivian's earnings call. And I haven't listened to it all yet. I'm probably only about a quarter of the way in. This is an hour-long earnings call. So it's chock full of information. I don't know if it's all important information, but it was long. So we'll find out together this Friday on the next episode of Kilowatt. And then I want to mention that Allison Sheridan's podcast, NosillaCast, she asked her audience, which I am proudly a member, to contribute some segments for her holiday episodes. And I contributed 2 segments, one on the Apple Watch and the Family Share app. And the second one was on Descript, which is an app that a lot of podcasters use for creating content. So I'll put a link in the show notes, and if you're interested, go over and check out Allison's podcast, NosillaCast, and listen to me yammer on about some products that I think are cool, and then maybe you'll become a long-term listener of Allison's. And that leads me to the Patreon plug this week, and this is going to be really short. If you want to support the show, go to supportkilowatt.com or patreon.com/kilowatt and support the show. All the money goes back into the show. None of the money goes into my own pocket. And now let's jump into the Tesla news. And I should say that our first few Tesla stories are not typical to the kind of stories that I do on this show, but they did happen and they do involve Tesla. So I'm going to go ahead and go over them. A 911 call was made for a man down at the Fremont factory parking lot. Fremont Fire was called in and they found a male victim suffering from a gunshot wound. Unfortunately, the victim passed away and now Fremont police are investigating a homicide. Fremont PD does have a suspect, and it looks like both the victim and the suspect were Tesla employees and had been arguing earlier that day. The investigation is still ongoing, and I will keep you updated as we get more information. And then our next story is Tesla is facing lawsuits and accusations that the company fosters sexual harassment. 6 current and former Tesla employees have brought these lawsuits, although I believe there are more than just these 6 people. They are alleging that when they reported inappropriate behavior to supervisors or HR, it wasn't taken seriously. They also described a culture of inappropriate comments and touching by not only colleagues, but also supervisors. It is worth noting that SpaceX has also had similar allegations this week lodged against that company as well. All right, moving on to the regular Tesla news. Tesla's Holiday Over-the-Air update not only includes the typical holiday Easter eggs, but it also includes the TikTok app, which Allison Sheridan must be very happy about. Tesla is also releasing to the beta testers FSD Beta 10.7. Now, kind of as a side note here, Sierra and Brad came over this weekend and they let me drive their Tesla with FSD Beta. It was still on 10.57, I think. If I remember correctly, they weren't on to 10.6 yet. They hadn't been updated yet. Initially, Brad was in the driver's seat and, the car did its thing. And there were some small quirks, but not a super big deal. We were basically in my neighborhood, which doesn't have lane markers. It really wanted to stay to the center of the road, but there was nothing bad. It did a pretty good job. And then we decided to take it on the road and go to a hardware store that's nearby. And there was some iffy parts there. And then we decided to drive to a donut shop. And the donut shop is on the southwest part of an intersection, and it's a very busy intersection. And I was in the driver's seat at this time, and the car goes to turn right, which is normal, but it turned right like we were in NASCAR. Like, it turned right so fast, it was kind of unsettling. And then I was like, wow, that was weird. So then we decided to do it again. So I drove out of the parking lot, drove back onto the road, and the next time it took the right, it took it so slow and it was so cautious that it was almost unsafe. And then Brad and I had a good laugh about that. And then we let it drive the rest of the way home. And there really wasn't a lot of scary moments for us for the rest of the ride. So that was cool. I will say there were enough times that it was unnerving to me that I was really on high alert. Like, I didn't feel relaxed driving in the FSD beta mode at all. However, it wasn't the worst thing ever. It was just, it did a lot of really quirky things. If you own a Tesla and you would like to charge your Tesla for free while you're traveling for the holidays, Tesla will offer free supercharging during off-peak hours. Now, the article that I got this from, I'm going to put it in the show notes. It shows the superchargers participating. For some reason, it doesn't have them all across the United States. It only has, a select few. So if you're traveling, take a look at that article and maybe you can save yourself a little bit of money on supercharging. This next article is so silly. Elon Musk is Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2021. Half the people on Twitter are thrilled about this. Half the people on Twitter are outraged about this. And the other half don't care. And I would put myself firmly in the I don't care half. Something I do care about is cryptocurrency because I think it's neat. Tesla may start taking Dogecoin for merchandise on its online store. So that's really cool. I say may because it's not currently taking Dogecoin, and I haven't seen an official announcement from Tesla that they will be taking Dogecoin, but I read an article that wasn't very convincing, but I really think this is something that Tesla is going to do eventually. So there you go. That's the weakest article in the bunch. But this is a good article. European Model 3s and Model Ys are getting the following upgrades. They're going to get a 15.5 volt lithium ion battery, and that replaces the 12 volt lead acid battery. So this isn't the battery pack that sits underneath the car. This is much like the battery that you'd find in an ICE vehicle, for instance. Next up, laminated glass in the front and rear doors, which is awesome. I think it's already in the front doors, but now the rear doors will be laminated as well. And then I didn't even know this was in the Model Y, but the Model Y will get an upgraded interior cabin radar and infrared camera. I didn't realize, I knew there was a camera. I didn't realize it was infrared and they had cabin radar, but it's going to be upgraded. And then the AMD Ryzen chip will be used in the Model Y Performance, which I believe we talked about recently in the Chinese versions of the Model Y Performance. So congratulations to all the European listeners. You're going to get some cool upgrades. And our final story this episode, customers who received the Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive have been notified that they will not receive their car because Tesla is not going to make it because they have too much product complexity, according to a letter they received. And here's the problem. The people who reserved these cars, they reserved them years ago on the promise from Tesla that they were going to receive their vehicle. Now, years later, the prices have increased significantly. Not only have the prices for the actual vehicles gone up, but the price of full self-driving has gone up $3,000 to $10,000. And Tesla is not honoring any previous pricing, whether it's for the vehicle itself or for full self-driving. So they're kind of out of luck. One customer actually went through and did, reconfigured their vehicle, and the price jumped by $20,000. When asked for clarification, Tesla said that, well, you reconfigured the car, now you got to pay the current prices. And Tesla will not be honoring old pricing. So, at some point in time, Tesla did say that they would honor the full self-driving price at $7,000, but now they're not even honoring that. And this is a bad look for Tesla. And they've been doing this more and more often. Like at one point in time, they made the Tesla Standard Range Plus available. And then that was like for a month. And then they're like, okay, we're not making this car anymore. And anybody who has a reservation for this car, you're not going to get it. You're out of luck. Like it's not a good thing to do for your customers. And honestly, I follow a lot of Tesla fanboys and girls on Twitter, and everybody who commented on this story said this is a bad look. They said this isn't fair for these customers, and it's not. And honestly, I think Tesla should, not only honor the $7,000 FSD price, but they should probably knock off another $5,000 or $10,000 off the price of a long range or performance Model Y, because you've basically hosed these people. These people put down $2,500 at the time to hold this car. $2,500 is not insignificant. Now, granted, they would get that back if they canceled their reservation, but still, $2,500 is a lot of money. And when you consider at the time these people put $2,500 down, they couldn't drive the car. They couldn't see the car, except for pictures. So they had no idea what they were going to get. They just put it down because they loved the company so much and they wanted the car, that they put their faith in Tesla. And Tesla is not rewarding their faith in this instance. They are kind of, I was going to use a bad word. Don't want to use bad words. They're not treating their customers well. Even if, let's just say 10,000 people had these reservations, Tesla should not only honor the $7,000 FSD price, but they should also knock off, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 the price of a long range Model Y or performance Model Y, depending on which one they should get. And I think Tesla needs to make this right. Tesla has banked a lot of goodwill from its customer base, from its fans. But if they continue doing things like this, that goodwill is going to erode faster than they were able to gain it. And at some point, it's going to bite them in the bottom. So, all right, that was an uplifting story. This was an overall not an uplifting show. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. If for some reason you find yourself alone during the holidays, or you just feel lonely during the holidays, go ahead and shoot me an email, Bodie, BODIE at 918digital, or you can find me on Twitter at 918digital. And let's interact. If you're feeling lonely, shoot me an email. I'm happy to chat with you over the holidays, or anytime for that matter. All right, everyone. I will talk to you in a few short days.